Welcome back to MMA Unhinged, and joining me today is Gillian Robertson. Gillian, how are you? And how are you feeling as we're about 3 months out from your fight?
I'm doing good. I'm super excited. You said 3 months out. It seems like it's just too long.
Yeah, no, and I remember reading one of your posts back in October. You're talking about coming home. You just must be excited.
I am absolutely like over the moon right now. So excited. I put on that post. I'm like I cried when I figured out that it was in Toronto, and that's 100% the truth. It's just it really does feel like a homecoming to me. There's no moment in my fight career that I can compare to my win against Sarah Froda in Edmonton, and I can only imagine how being in Toronto this time, how much different it's going to be, how much energy there's going to be in that room in the cage, and it's just going to be amazing.
Well, as a fellow Canadian myself, I can't tell you how excited I am as just being able to do the interviews, but also be able to be a fan as well. I do want to touch upon that though. But first, before we go any further, I just want to thank you for taking the time for coming on here, and especially on a Saturday morning. I can only can understand.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's no problem at all. I'm just on the way to sparring after this.
Of course, of course. I'll try to keep it brief here. I only can imagine it's probably a lot warmer over there than it's over here in Canada at the moment.
Oh yeah, it's definitely probably a lot warmer. And I'm like that was my first thought thinking about the fight in January. I'm like January is going
Yeah.
to be very cold up there.
Oh, of course, of course. So I just want to jump into it. How's fight camp, or have you started?
Fight camp, we're just kind of like in the beginning stages of it currently. Just kind of getting into my diet, starting with a little bit more like cardio, getting back into my like usual training pace. I feel like these last couple months have taken a little bit lighter, and now we're just getting back to pushing the pace and getting, I guess, making sure we hit all our P's and Q's.
Yeah, and I want to just touch upon that briefly. So is this like a typical fight camp for you? Is it about 3 months, or what normally what's a normal timeline for you?
I think with me at strawweight, this is going to be a typical fight camp for me. At flyweight, I was able to take them a little bit more short notice and make it work, but for me to make strawweight, I feel like I need at least 2 to 3 months. I think that was the issue with my last fight against Tabitha. I think I pushed it too much, and I was pushing my body a little bit too much, and I just put myself in a bad position going into that fight. So I feel like for me to perform at my best at 115, I'm gonna need a little bit of time in between.
And I know you've kind of jumped back and forth between flyweight and strawweight. So is strawweight where you feel the best?
I think strawweight's gonna be my home for now on. I kind of I was walking a little bit bigger when I first got into the UFC. I was also, I don't know, I was young, kind of trying to figure things out. Where now I'm a little bit older. I feel like strawweight is going to be where I'm going to settle down. I feel like I fit in that category a lot better, and I fit with those size girls a lot better.
For sure. And I want to talk about your fight camp. So, from my understanding, you're over at Goat Shed Academy since 2022, if I'm correct.
Yes.
So, talk a little bit. Are you able to talk about the transition, why you moved over there, and the reason for that?
Uh, I guess I've kind of been all over the place with my training over the last couple of years. I was initially with AT. Well, I've been with Dean Thomas since day one, and Dean
Yeah.
was always a part of ATT. So we went to ATT. Then at the beginning of COVID, we broke apart, and I kind of just went with Dean for I think it was about 2 or 3 years, where it was just me, Dean, and Jose Shorty Torres and David Evans in Dean's garage training and just traveling to like different gyms to get like sparring rounds and things like that. But we didn't really have a gym to claim. It was just kind of we were doing our own thing for a couple of years, and then like I said, we were traveling around to get bodies, so it's like that was the biggest issue. So I just kind of needed a home gym. So that's where Goat Shed was one of the gyms we were traveling around to, and I absolutely loved it there. I loved the environment there, so I decided to settle down there. And Dean Thomas is still works for me. He comes down probably 2-3 times a week, makes the drive to Miami like 2 hours. So he's still a huge part of my camp, and then obviously Goat Shed now is a huge part of my camp as well.
Well, I was gonna say you're not moving too far down the road, just over in Miami there. And I guess like now that being said, you have a lot of great people over there. So who's going to be in your corner, and who's personally going to oversee your camp?
So Dean Thomas and then my head coach Awesome. He's the head of the goat shed, the leader of the goat shed.
Of
Um,
course.
so both those are going to be definitely going to be in my corner. The third corner, I'm still kind of debating at the moment. Just somebody to help come, like a training partner to come help warm me up and things like that. So the third corner is still in debate, but those two are 100% always locked in my corner.
Now, as that third person, do you have anyone specific that you've used in the past a lot?
Um, we've kind of played around with it in the past, I guess. For me, it's not necessarily. I guess it doesn't really matter as much about that third person. It's just whoever I'm working with more through camp. So we'll see how it goes as camp goes on.
Course. And I remember we were talking earlier about the feelings about being in Canada, UFC 297, Toronto, Ontario, Canada. I mean, yeah, you're essentially coming back home. I mean, not too far away from Niagara Falls there. What describe the feeling being able to fight back at home and not just in Canada, but really in your backyard there?
Oh no, exactly. It's really in my backyard. I can't wait. I'm like post fight. I'm already planning. I'm like, I want to go to Niagara Falls. I want to go back home. I want to go. I haven't. I feel like I haven't been to the actual falls in years, but I'm like, I would love to just go do that. Plan a little trip. It really Canada is just home to me, and it feels so nice to be able to be back there and to be able to have just that the crowd support there is absolutely insane.
And sometimes when the UFC goes back to a lot of iconic places, a lot of times they'll get a lot of like the fighters from that area. They do like a lot of those UFC embedded, or they do a lot of those like they'll go and have them do like events, and they'll have like fighters get together and do certain things just for the build up of fight week. Has the UFC reached out to you at all?
Not yet, but I would love to do something like that. That'd be awesome. It'd be awesome to do like a meet and greet or something with the Canadian fans.
Yeah, and does that ever become challenging, especially when you're in the cutting weight process, or is this is nothing new to you?
It's all part of the game. It definitely is a little bit more of a challenge when you're down on weight. You can't eat too much, and you gotta add that extra cardio in, so you're super tired. But it's all part of the process, and I'm honestly just so thankful to have fans. I feel like that's what shocks me more than anything else when people come up and they're like, "Oh, I'm a huge fan of yours." I'm like that's mind blowing to me.
Yeah, of course, of course. And speaking upon that, did you get a chance to watch the pay-per-view in Vancouver?
I, I did. I'm trying to think of it now. I'm sorry, I'm having a terrible. I definitely watched it 100%. I watched every single fight card. Who's the main event on that one?
You know what? You got me there too. I just know it was the one. It was like packed with all Canadian fighters. Um, and that being said, I mean the crowd was electric. I mean the energy was just electric. So do you expect the same or even more in a place like in the GTA in Toronto?
Oh, I expect it to be even more, and I expect the card to be absolutely stacked with Canadians as well. So I'm like, it's gonna be absolutely crazy in there, and it's like you said, last time I fought in Edmonton, all the way across the country. This time I'm only an hour away from my hometown, and it's just gonna be electric in there.
Of course. And let's talk about your opponent now, Polyana Viana. Obviously, she comes with a lot of the jiu-jitsu background. You are like I gotta say, one of the hands down one of the best that come when it comes to the ground game. Do you kind of expect more of a stand up fight now that you both possess such a strong ground game?
Oh no, I don't think so at all. I think this is just gonna play into my realm of what I like, and that's sitting on top of people and punching them in the face. So I'm like, I think there's gonna be a lot of that in the fight. She does, like you said, she has a very strong jujitsu game, but I feel like that's gonna play to my advantage because I think she's gonna be playing jujitsu while I'm playing MMA, and I'm either gonna be able to get my second TKO, which my first one came in Canada. So I'm like, I think that's my lucky charm, or I'll just add to my submission record. No matter what, though, I don't see this fight going 15 minutes, and I see me walking out with the win.
Yes, of course. And is there anything good you can say about your opponent that gets you really excited about this matchup, though?
Um, we actually have trained together at ATT way back in the day, so it's like we definitely had some good rounds together. So I guess that's definitely exciting. For me, it's just an exciting matchup that I feel like it's gonna allow me to really showcase my skills.
Yeah, of course. And sometimes when you've trained with someone, especially when you have training partners that have to fight each other, sometimes I don't know if I could say the word awkward, but it can definitely be a little bit more challenging now that you kind of get to know your opponent. So there's no real advantage there. But does it also kind of, in a bittersweet way, does it kind of help you though as well?
I think you can't take too much from it. I feel like I trained with Mashka Maria Agpova a lot back in the day, and then we fought last year. And uh I it's like you can't compare the training room to the fight, because it's in the training room I can go and I can take her down every day, but in the fight she elbowed me 40 times in the head when I took her down. So it's just like it's a completely different scenario when there's actual fight consequences.
Oh, of course, of course. And speaking about this fight, you said this fight's not going 15 minutes. So what would be the perfect finish, knockout or submission in your home crowd?
That's the debate, I guess. What would be the perfect finish? For me, I'm like I've never like the only other time I've gotten a TKO was in Canada, so I feel like that it like that's just kind of fate. I kind of have to, but also it's like I'm the submission queen. I got to keep that name. I got to keep that record. So it's like I'm always down for submissions too, but if she wants to fall into it, she falls into it. Other than that, I'm just gonna beat her up until we do get that TKO.
Excellent, excellent. Well, we're excited about that fight. And that being said, you kind of talked about what you kind of like to do after the fight or during the week, whatever you decide to do. But that being said, so what's your going to be your go-to cheat meal after this fight, or what is your go-to cheat meal after every fight?
Everything. I'm like I just started my diet probably 2 3 weeks ago now for to make straw weight for 3 months out.
Yeah,
So at the end of this, I'm just ready to eat everything I possibly can. I love like anything with like cheese. I love like pizza, burgers, things like that. So I'm like there's the list really. Honestly, I have in my notes section on my phone, the list just keeps on getting bigger. Every time I see somebody post something on Instagram, it goes on the list, and then that's added to the cheat meal after the fight, because it takes so much mental strength just to stay strict for these 3 months. So I feel like I deserve it then.
oh, of course, of course. And yeah, and then that being said, what after I mean after the fight, I know with USADA, everything's kind of a little up in the air. I don't know what they're doing with the anti-doping agency. But for yourself, are you going to be able to partake in some activities after the fight, or what's the rules with anti-doping agency?
Oh yeah, well, obviously I don't know the rules with the new anti-doping agency, but with USADA, it's always been as soon as you're out of the cage, you're out of the arena, you're good for whatever.
Smoke
So
whatever you like.
yeah, exactly. A nice post fight joint would be great.
Yeah. And does that ever like help you after the like does that really help after the fight, or is it just nice just mentally, or like how do you find it beneficial?
I feel like mentally more than anything else. I think that's why I smoke weed in general. I feel like it's just it is that mental break during that week, that like deep breath kind of whenever I'm running around and just going crazy all through my training hours.
Yeah, don't we all? Um, but yeah, like I said, I'm not going to take too much more of your time here. But talking about some of these grappling matches that you've been in, though, you've seen other fighters following suit. Like you've seen guys like Sugar Sean O'Malley. Obviously, his game is all stand up, but you've seen him even getting into these grappling matches, and you're starting to see a lot more of these fighters doing it. Obviously, grappling and ground game is such an important thing. Do you find you're going to see a lot more high level fighters getting into these side gigs while fighting to
Uh,
improve their game?
for me, I actually think you're going to see less, honestly. I think that the way that jujitsu is going currently is just so different than
Hmm.
the trajectory that MMA is taking. And it's just, honestly, with the leg lock game the way it is in jiu-jitsu nowadays, is just so dangerous. And so
Hmm.
like there's so much going on there that it's like I don't even have time to look into, because I'm worrying about my striking, my wrestling, my everything else. Whereas like MMA, you have so much to focus on, where they're focusing so much on leg locks and things like that that can put you out for 6 months, a year plus, where in MMA, it's like it's almost safer to fight MMA now than it is to do no-gi jiu-jitsu because of the leg lock game.
Yeah, no, and that's understandable. I mean, if someone's gonna get a submission on you, they're gonna get it done. They're gonna get it quick, and there's no fighting for certain positions. There's punches, the kicks. I totally understand that. And that I'm just gonna jump really quick forward. So I don't want to take much more of your time. I know you have training coming up. In 2024, what's the plan for Gillian Robertson?
Uh, hopefully, like I said, I think with at 115, probably 2 fights would be ideal for me a year. I'd be pushing it to do 3, but maybe 3 fights next year. But I just want to see a number next to my name. That's the ideal goal. Is just to get me ranked, get me up there, and get. I want to see 3 wins in a row. That's my goal in general because I've never gotten that in the UFC ever. I've always been 2 wins and a loss. So 3 wins is my goal.
Well, we have no doubt that you will get there. Like I said, Jillian, I don't want to take much more of your time. I know you got training to get to. So we just want to thank you again for taking your time on a Saturday morning. I know Saturday mornings can kind of be hectic. So we appreciate it again. And good luck on your fight on January 20th.
Thank you so much for having me.
And no problem. You take care.
You too.